Good morning. Caleb Alexander Sponis here, in the middle of my pretty much daily morning routine. Um, I like to color. Um, it's kind of one of my hobbies, I guess, um, is that I thoroughly enjoy coloring. Um, I like using gel pens. Uh, these ones are Papermate Inkjoy Gel 0.7s. Love them. They're phenomenal. Um, but I guess I just kind of want to dive into um, how I came to be who I am today. Um, I was born August 17th, 1995, as Candace Marie Sponis. Um, at that time, I had two older siblings, a brother and a sister. Um, my mom and dad did marry, um, but from as long as I can remember, they were divorced. Um, Majority of the time, I was with my mother, and I would just visit with my dad. Um, I don't recall living with my older brother for too long, if even at all. I know he was adopted by our grandparents. Um, so then I ended up having a little brother as well. So then it was me, my older sister, and my younger brother growing up with our mother, um, who could be intense. But we'll get more into family history later. Um, Fast forward a few years, um, I would say uh, I fast forward to about 9 years old. Was my first encounter with foster care. Growing up, I always knew I was kind of different, but I had a very good imagination. It was very active, um, especially when living with my mom. At least I got to go play in the woods and just pretend, Um, but I always knew I was different. I wasn't like my sister, growing up. She got up all into makeup. I was not really a fan. I tried, but I always thought something was wrong. Like I was supposed to be a boy, but it was a mistake. There was nothing I could do to change it, or so I thought at the time. So I just, since my parents didn't care, I, just dressed like a boy, and to them, I was just their little tomboy. They didn't think two thoughts of it. They didn't, push me that, oh yeah, she thinks she's a he, and, push towards it or put any beliefs or any thoughts into my head. So I just want to say that much. They just, I was their little tomboy. They didn't make a big deal out of it. Um, when I thought of getting married and wanting to be the groom, the husband, wearing suits, those were all thoughts I had early on. Being a father, all those things. And then after foster care, life changed for a while. It was different. It was weird. I just wanted to fit in. So I kind of just followed what people expected or wanted for the longest. I got to go back and live with my father for about a year. And then by the time I was 11, almost 12 years old, I got placed back into a foster care system. Different home, different city. Moving from Standish to Pinconning to Standish, back to Standish, and then to Bay Cities, where I landed in a new home. But hey, at least my sister was at this home too, so we were back together again. My sister's probably the most stable, or like most consistent thing I've ever had in my life. Always ended up in the foster homes together. And then even when I had to go back with my father and she couldn't come with me because we have different dads, and the court wouldn't allow it. When I had to leave her there, it sucked. But we ended up together in a different foster home anyway. And at that point, there was one of the foster brothers there that I would try to go and do shopping with him, in the boys section, but honestly, it wasn't as accepted as it would have been with my birth parents. I would get, hey Candace, over here, to get pulled back into the girls' clothing section. I've always struggled with boundaries or talking about the way that I feel because, growing up, I really was taught that I couldn't have any, especially when it came to your parents or people taking care of you, your elders. It's what I was taught, and it's what I was conditioned. So I followed the line. I did what I was told. I beat myself up more than anybody could because I was always terrified of what would happen if I didn't. I know I'm not perfect, and I know I have a lot of flaws. But I will say that being able to work on them and being who I am now, at least I have comfortability in my own skin to be able to work through all the other issues. Because if I was still struggling with my self-worth as a person because of what I looked like, because of the sex that I was, that would have been a whole nother thing to juggle, and it would have made it impossible. But it wasn't until I got into my 20s that I actually, and I was like out on my own, that I actually came out as transgender and started into, hormone therapy, the testosterone injections, my name change, and top surgery. I lived a whole life as somebody. And sometimes it's hard to think that I don't have any pictures growing up of me as me, I feel like I've started my whole life over and I don't have a lot of anything. But I'm building a lot. And I've grown a lot into the man that I always knew that I should have been. I really feel good about who I am and what I look like. And I'm grateful. But yeah, sometimes it feels like I wish, I did have memories or thoughts or pictures or experiences from back then, with who I am now. But I can tell you I've never been happier with who I am. So at the end of the day, that's probably the best part, is that I feel comfortable in my skin. Things feel right, and it's a long, winding road to get there, but it's really good. But I appreciate you guys for listening. I want to at least get this one out there because I want to be a little more consistent with doing these. I know I necessarily wasn't the best at it back in the day when I tried doing some of these. But that's just a little bit about where I came from, who I was born as, and who I came to be. We'll dive into a little more specifics later on, but I should honestly probably start making something for breakfast and getting myself ready for work. But thank you. Appreciate you guys. Much love. I'm going to finish this coloring spot because it's going to bother my OCD, and then I'm going to go eat. Later.